Hello, everybody. Welcome to another little presentation from the Essex UFO and Paranormal team. Well, group, I suppose it is. Um, on this particular occasion, I'll be talking to Mark Doulton, who's a member of the group. Hello, Mark.
Hey David, how you doing?
You can say hello now. You can speak now.
We had a bit of problem with the audio, didn't we? Got that sorted.
Yeah, no, I think we're all right. But anyway, welcome to having just another little chat, and we're going to be talking mostly about UFOs, I believe, because has been quite a hotbed, and also at the moment there's a lot of stuff going on about supposed UFOs all over the place. All these supposed, I don't know, drones and God knows what else, which I think is a load of old ball myself. But
Yeah, there does seem to be a little bit of a media run on.
I think there's something going on with the Biden administration, the CIA, and the fact that Trump's coming in on the 20th. I think is a lot, not a nice big old distraction in my mind from a lot of the things what Biden's been doing about uh, sort of forgiving everybody of their crimes, which they supposedly haven't committed. Anyway,
Well,
and that's my own personal opinion. Anyway, it's a
yeah, I
nice
think
distraction.
I think what's interesting is they've put out this story, haven't they, that
Hmm.
they're looking for some kind of radioactive material that could be used in the dirt.
Yes, yeah, there's supposed to be some radioactive material that's gone missing, isn't there?
Yeah,
And
but what's interesting is why would they only be looking on a military base or sensitive locations where there's military? Just seems
mm,
odd, very odd.
yeah,
And they are almost ridiculing some of their own police officers
absolutely,
that
yeah,
have seen. I was looking at one report yesterday where the sheriff and other witnesses saw up to 50 drones, what they called them, coming from the sea across the land. And they were told that there was nothing to worry about. And as far as the sheriff is concerned, they're insulting their intelligence by saying that these objects don't carry any defence
yeah.
significance, because obviously they do. If they're quick in the
Well,
sea,
of
they're
course,
coming
if
together.
they've got strange things flying about and nobody knows what they are, it's a defence problem, isn't it?
Well, it is, but according to the guy who made this sheriff who made this report, they don't carry any radio signal. That's the first thing. And secondly, most of the objects were triangular in shape, not uncommon, but also rectangular in shape.
Mm,
So, as far as I know, I've never seen a rectangular drone. Not to say there isn't any out there, but it seems a bit odd. And also, if you look back at some of the reports worldwide, there was a good program on YouTube called UFOs and Nukes. I think there's a book as well. Historically, there have been
yeah,
a number.
Robert Hastings, isn't it? Who wrote the book, I think.
I think so. There's been a number of reports of UFOs interfering with weapon systems um, on military bases across the world. So it isn't just America. It's happened here. Allegedly happened at Rendlesham, where
Yes, we'll talk a bit about that as we
yeah.
go. Yeah.
So it's worldwide now. When that happened a few years ago, it was nothing to do with drones.
Mm,
So now it's all these drones hovering. And if it, what I find odd, if it was a secret military operation, if it was Russia or China or whoever, why would you light them up? Why would you
yeah, no,
light them? That's
that's what
like
I'm
saying
saying.
we're here.
It's all
It just seems
madness.
odd.
So, I mean, think about also. Do you remember earlier this year? I think it was this year. It was earlier this year. Remember the balloons going across?
Chinese balloons, yeah.
So it's kind of a. I think this is the latest little upstep from that because that was all supposed to be UFOs, wasn't it, going across America?
Originally, yeah, yeah. And
And
then
I think this is a kind of a little bit step further from that. And I think it's, like I said, a load of old bull. I don't believe for 1 minute that it's extra. I mean, some of them might be, but I doubt it. I don't think for 1 minute it's extraterrestrial UFOs.
if it was a craft, there's absolutely no doubt they would be sending aircraft up to shoot them down.
Yeah, of course it would.
Now, I know drones are lower, but I can't believe they haven't got weapons to shoot
No,
these drones down. So the big question is why are they not shooting them down?
yeah,
Well, that could be answered by the fact they know exactly what they are and where they're from, and that's why they've not shot them down.
yeah.
Their reasoning behind that at the minute is because they're potentially looking for some radioactive material, But if you don't know where some radioactive material is, why would you only be looking at over military bases
Yeah, that's right.
and not into, you know, the neighbourhoods and
Yeah.
the countryside or wherever?
I mean, there's another
It
theory
seems
that
very odd.
they're saying that if there are private drones, they could actually stop people using the drones. You know, that's another theory, isn't it? And say,
Yeah.
well, we're going to ban all drones over military bases and everything.
Which, if there is a drone over an airport, they close the airport and they
Yeah,
investigate it, and they usually do hunt down the person who put the drone up.
yeah.
But when it seems to be over military base,
Yeah, nobody worries. Nobody worries about it.
they
Yeah.
don't want to know. It's all
It's
very, very old.
it's
Very,
absolutely
very old.
madness, isn't it? But I
Yeah.
think Trump's made a couple of statements about it. He thinks there's all some funny goings on with it all. But anyway, I mean that's our take on that. And as you can see, I've just said to you off air, I'm actually I'm in the Bahamas at the moment on the beach. Uh, oh yeah, I should have left my jumper off, shouldn't I?
My candy's changed a lot.
No, I'm not really. It's one of these stupid backgrounds. I'll actually change my background so you can see exactly where I am. But anyway, well, you've had your own UFO experiences, as I have had a couple over the years. I mean, do you want to tell us about your biggest one?
Well, I've had a few. Firstly, people may not be aware, myself and some other guys, um, Paul Bennett, plus some other guys within the South End UFO group,
Oh, you can see where I am now.
used to investigate the local UFO sightings from Shrewsbury up to London to North Essex. And we had a guy in North Essex who used to investigate sightings as well. He's sadly no longer with us. But we, for probably about 20 odd years, we investigated local sightings that came through to us so we could determine what the objects were or weren't, and put people's minds at rest. And uh, there was a number of sightings that were very interesting, that defied logic. And I was fortunate enough to, sometimes on my own, sometimes with witnesses and medical advice, see objects that moved, manoeuvred beyond anything that is currently known and seen in the skies at the moment. And uh, multiple witnesses were with me when we see these objects. So the first sighting I had was when I was about 10 years old off Southend Pier. And at that time, this is about 1975, 76. And if you saw a UFO then, you were classed as, well, the word that was used commonly was nutter.
Yeah. Well,
But
it still does stand like that as well, I think,
yeah, I mean,
really.
I was fishing on my own. It was starting to get dark. So the sky had gone from that blue to like that dark blue before it goes really black. And I was out far too late. Eventually, my dad came to collect me. But up until that point, there was an orange ball. I was about 3/4 of the way along the pier, which is, most people know, Southend Pier is the longest pleasure pier in the world. It's about 1.25 miles long. And I was about 3/4 of the way along, more than anyone else around. And this orange ball of light hovered just in front of me in the sky. And at first, I didn't pay much attention to it. And I was fishing, I was more interested in catching fish at that age. And then it moved and moved again. Now, this object, probably for a good 20 minutes, half an hour, was moving around the sky. It moved off to the southwest, sorry, southeast of the pier, and it covered quite a distance in the blink of an eye. That did, if you like, made me very a little bit scared, but more interested in what could possibly do that. You know, this is an orange ball of light, never seen one before. Didn't really give any attention to it, might or might not be. And then eventually the object moved back to its original position, again covering a huge chunk of sky in a split second, and then it was gone. And about 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, my dad turned up and, you know, what you're doing out this late, you should have been home hours ago, type of thing,
Mm.
and dragged me off home. And I remember we was walking back down the end of the pier, and it appeared again, not for very long. And I told my dad at the time, I said, look, it's up there. And he didn't even turn around to have a look. he wouldn't even turn around. I'm like, look, it's up there. That's what I've been
It,
watching.
it didn't want to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that
Strange that though,
basically,
isn't it?
started my interest in ufology, and from then on, I've always had an interest. I had other psychic experiences as well as mediumistic experiences,
Hmm.
and I've been in the right place, I suppose, at the right time to see UFOs, predominantly white balls of light that have moved at incredible speed, incredible distances. The usual, quite common zigzag telltale sign of a genuine UFO, which determines it from a lot of other possible potential explanations. But most importantly, having been interested in the subject for since I was 10, which is quite a few years ago, I still don't know what they are.
No, that's right. Nobody, I don't
So
think anyone knows what they
anyway,
really are, do they?
my hunch is that they are interdimensional. Um, I haven't seen actual craft. I've seen balls of white light.
Hmm.
The biggest one, to answer your question, and I digressed a little bit. Probably the two best ones was I was driving home. It was February. There was a bit of snow left on the ground. I lived in Great Wakefern, right next to Foulness. In fact, just around the corner from where I lived was a fence that split Great Wakefern from Foulness Island, which is one of the most top secret areas in the country. Two-thirds of the Foulness are relatively guarded by security, but there's one part that no one can get near. And I have heard rumours from people that lived near Foulness who had connections that there's an underground base there that goes down 7 levels. What it's used for, no one knows. It was used for testing in the 70s. And again, there's a rumour that it was used for testing for lasers that weren't even discussed until I think Reagan in the 80s. So there's a lot of rumours as to what it's been used for. It used to be called AWRE, which is Atomic Weapons Research Establishment. That gives an idea of what it was originally used for, but it's been used a lot for military going back to Roman times. So I was driving home, there's a bit of snow, still left on the ground, driving very slowly. And at the end of the road before I turn left, there's a fence which separates Wakefield from secure fence from Foulness. I looked in the sky and there's a bright light there. Now, having driven home countless hundreds, probably thousands of times over the years, to see this light that's normally not there in front of you, does you just think, well, what's that? I don't remember seeing that before. So as I got to just about to turn, I was tired, I was hungry, I had a long day at work. I couldn't be bothered I couldn't be bothered with it. It was just like, oh, I don't know, it's probably a police helicopter. But it's quite big, quite bright.
You're
And
not the sort of person that goes into a panic anyway, are you? You sort
no,
of just
no,
take things as they come.
no. To be honest, I'm naturally a skeptic, so it's got
Hmm.
to be good for me to have a bit of an interest and make me believe in anything anyway. So anyway, this object jumped from left to right a huge amount of sky in probably a second. It literally went from there to there, which is a massive chunk of sky. And I've immediately stopped the car and it's like, what the hell is that? What could do that? What could go that fast and jump from there to there so fast? So I'm sitting there just completely hypnotized by this object now. There's no way I'm taking my eyes off it. The car's stopped. I don't care. It's a cul-de-sac. I live in a cul-de-sac to cul-de-sac. There's no traffic behind me. And I watched this light and it stayed there 10, 15 seconds. And I'm thinking, and your mind goes into overdrive. Something that's so far outside the box, it makes you question everything and
Hmm.
actually see that jump. Did that really move from there to there? And I know it did, but it's my skeptic within itself that's asking those questions. It then did a zigzag and went straight up into the night sky, like into space. And literally blew my mind. It's like, whoa, what the hell could have done that?
Hmm.
So anyway, I phoned a good friend of ours, Dave Hobbs, and told him. And I couldn't drive for a few minutes to try and get my head around what I'd seen. Because in my mind, that object moved when I decided that it was a police helicopter and it was nothing. Up until that point, that's what I found a little bit disturbing. So anyway, over the next few weeks, I told a few people, I told Dave, I told a few others, and I've kind of like put out, and I've got to a point where I'd convinced myself that I hadn't seen it, that I must have had some kind of breakdown or
Mm.
hallucination. Now, at this time, there was a company in Wickford, not too far away, that were one of the first, I don't think they were the first, but they were certainly one of the first locally to import Chinese lanterns. And they contacted me and said, look, we're going to do a test. We're going to be letting a few of these balloons off just to, see what they're like, see how they float up in the sky. But we wanted to let you know because you might get a few people reporting the UFO. Great. I was very grateful that they let me know about it. So they let these Chinese lanterns off, and I had lots and lots of calls, which were a little bit irritating.
Mm.
But what was interesting, I know exactly what these Chinese lanterns look like, as do most people now. But
And they're
people's,
bloody dangerous as well. They set fires all over
yeah,
the place.
they are, but people's descriptions, now this is
Mm.
the interesting thing, people's descriptions of exactly the same object, everyone saw the same thing, but their recollections and their description of what they'd seen varied quite wildly,
Mm.
which I thought was quite interesting. So I had yet another call at home. Now, bearing in mind, I'd convinced myself that I hadn't seen what I'd seen over the fields near me, near Barnet, and put it out of my mind. And another call came through, and I thought, oh, another bloody Chinese lantern. I was just getting report after report after report. And this guy said, look, I want to report this UFO, and my son has videoed it on camera phone. And I said, okay, whereabouts in Wickford are you? He said, I'm not in Wickford. Where are you then? He said, I'm in Wakefield. I said, Wakefield? Whereabouts? And he said, CV Drive. Now that road ran parallel with my road, but it was a longer road. So whereas I was one side of the field here, the other road went further down along the other side of the field. It was all fenced off military. So it was fenced off on this side. So he was down here and I was here. So I said, oh, I'd be interested to see your son's footage. Now, he'd taken that footage to the police station and they said it was a police helicopter. So he said, so you had your police helicopter up over Bowness last night, and then the police admitted they didn't. So they gave an explanation of a police helicopter, I think, just to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Then admitted the helicopter wasn't up the night before, and it certainly wasn't over that area anyway.
Hey, you should hear a helicopter though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. So I said, when can you bring the footage around? I'd like to see it. He said, I've only got to walk through the alleyway. I'll be there in 5 minutes. I said, oh, yeah, come round. Now, he brought the footage round. His son was going to delete it because he made a joke of it. He said, oh, look, I've caught a UFO. So when he showed me that footage, it was exactly what I'd seen over exactly the same location. So whereas I convinced myself that I'd seen or hadn't seen what I'd seen, that I'd either hallucinated or had some kind of mental breakdown, there all of a sudden, a few weeks, 4 weeks later, comes along a guy that says, oh, my son's got some footage, and it's in the exact location where I'd seen the UFO, or UAP, whatever you want to call it these days. And his son had video footage, and I've got the footage still. And it's basically a ball of light that zigzags in the sky, and it's over Falmouth Island, which Wakefield is joined to. So that was one pretty astounding UFO sighting. What's interesting is I investigated a UFO under Billericay, and Billericay, especially Hanningfield Reservoir. For some reason, UFOs seem to be commonly seen around reservoirs, military stations. The 70s, Southend was one of the world's hotspots for UFOs. And Hanningfield Reservoir has had more than its fair share of sightings. And this guy filmed, again, white ball of light, zigzagging across the sky. And you can hear on the footage, which I've got this footage, a plane come into the airspace. You can hear the aircraft noise. And as the aircraft comes in to the airspace, the UFO comes towards the camera, towards the cottage. This guy lived semi-rural on the outskirts of Billericay. And as it came towards the guy's cottage, there's like interference on the phone so it interfered with the phone connection as it shut off. But I took this footage to quite a well-known local astronomer called Royston Dean, who runs the Hawkwood Observatory, and I showed it to him, and he was quite astonished. Now, he could tell by stars and their formation in the sky, he could tell when it was that the guy took the footage. It was so clear. And he had no idea what it was. He thought it was two objects in the sky. And bear in mind, if there's anything astronomical, an astronomical angle, Royston, he would know. He's an absolute expert. He does talks and he gets the telescopes out of the Hubble Observatory.
Yeah, I always wonder what astronomers must see up there
Yeah,
and just keep their mouth shut
yeah.
because they
Well,
don't want to lose their funding.
yeah, no, he's an amateur astronomer and he writes articles and things like that. And he knows, he's an expert. He knows what he's talking about. And he said he's never seen anything like it. He thought there was two objects in the sky because of the speed, but I think that's just the way the cameras picked it up. I think it's the same as what I saw, the same as what the guy who lived around the corner whose son videoed the white ball of light. To me, it's the same object. So, and again, it's the maneuverability of these objects and the speed that determines that they're not aircraft, they're not shooting stars, they're not top secret military aircraft, because the G forces, the maneuverability of these objects and the way they can make right angle turns, the experts have said that the G forces to pull off those maneuvers, it would actually hold the human being if they was inside the craft.
Yeah.
They just wouldn't be able to.
Well, I mean, like you described, it went straight up in the air. I mean, that alone says it wasn't a helicopter, because they can't do that, can they? For a start.
No. So those they kind of tie in those objects. There was a daylight sighting I had. I was going fishing up a Shoebury near Southend. The boat was going out to sea into the middle of the Thames, and again a white ball of light. Again, I wasn't thinking UFOs. I had no plans to see UFOs. I was more interested in actually how I was going to set on a tackle to catch a fish at the time. And this object.
Probably thinking how cold it was as well.
No, actually, it was about 7 o'clock in the morning. It was a nice sunny day. It was clear. That's the most important thing. It was clear. And this object went from right to left. So I went from Shoebury across all the houses, swung out to sea. And this is what I thought was interesting. And it'd be interesting to see what you think of this. When the object has come out to sea, it's stopped. It's dead, stopped over the sea.
Wow.
Then turned from like a white colour to a yellowy golden colour. And it was almost like a shutter, like an eyelid that came across and down. And then it disappeared. And the thing is, I've always thought, did that object then cloak itself or did it open a doorway? Now, in the 70s in Southend, and I've heard this on the radio, there were so many sightings that there was a rumour that there was a portal, I think, to the northwest of the pier over the sea, because objects are so commonly seen. In fact, I think in the 70s, it was one of the world's UFO hotspots out there. But also, there was an awful lot going on over at Foulness, and there was talk of Russians describing trawlers so that the Russians could spy during the Cold War on what was going at Foulness. So there's a whole myriad of different things going on the military side and what was going on at Foulness, but also with UFO reports. And when I've given talks in the past, when you finish a talk, during a meeting and you're giving a talk and you say, has anyone seen anything, and the hands stay down. But once you finish the talk, you can have a queue of people wanting to give you their sightings that they had in the 70s or 80s. And the amount of sightings that have been over the Thames estuary, from fleets of white balls of light, like travelling in formation, to people in the high street that have seen stuff, Shoebury at the mouth of the Thames, lots of reports from Shoebury, lots of reports from Basildon, Gloucester Park, Langdon, and Hanningfield. There do seem to be certain areas that have had a glut of sightings more than in other areas.
Yeah.
The River Crouch, a guy was fishing, and again, UFOs were the last thing on his mind. Fishing at night, a white ball of light dropped out of the sky, hovered over the river, seemed to take on water. That's what he thought, but he didn't actually see that. He thought that it was taking on water, and then it shot straight back up in the sky. So if you look at the majority of local sightings, there's been some very, very interesting ones that, as I said to you, I'm a natural skeptic. I try and find a logical answer to every sighting that we've had in the
Well, you
past.
got to do that first, yeah.
Yeah, I mean these days we lose a lot of the sightings. They don't come through to the groups anymore because they just go on national sighting databases on social media.
Mm.
So there isn't really anyone that's going to investigate those sightings like we would have done in the past, and we'd have ruled out others. It was the police helicopter, it was an astronomical event. Now, there's no one giving answers. And if anyone's been on any of the UFO sighting Facebook pages or websites, as soon as someone says, I've seen this or I've seen that, you'll get other people just troll them and take the mickey and tell them that's not what they've seen. And unfortunately, I think we're not in a position now to ever get it back to how it was.
Mm.
You can investigate the genuine UFO reports and say, yes, that defies all logical explanation.
Mm. So you say me looking to the side. I'm actually looking for a particular book on my shelf here, but I might be able to see it in a minute when because what interested me with when you described it, it was an orange colour. Now my sighting was an orange or big orange oval object going across the sky, and that was in Basildon, and that was around about 1967, I think it was. It might have even been late 66. Unfortunately, I never took note of what the date was,
No.
but that was a big oval object going across the night sky, probably about 1 o'clock in the morning, pulsating. It's like a pulsating, and I've always described it as not a bright light, but like an incandescent light, a bit like probably a bit like your
Well,
lenses that you were describing.
I did have a newspaper cutting, I think it's from 1976, and it was the Coast Guards reporting an orange ball of light basically flying over the Thames. If anyone knows what lights should be in and around the Thames, it's going to be the Coast Guard.
Mm,
They
yeah.
actually reported it, and I did have that cutting from 1976, I think it was. So that when I found that quite a few years ago, that kind of gave what I saw as a kid off the pier. That gave it a lot more credibility. The fact that it wasn't some kid that's made believe seeing things.
Mm,
Postcards also saw it, and they reported it, and they didn't know that it was.
no.
But yeah, the UFOs can come in all shapes, sizes, colours.
But
Um,
orange is a very, very common colour. I know we do hear about things with blue, red, and white lights and stuff like that. But orange is a very common colour. If you see just a one on its own, well, when you're talking again, if I can find this book, oh, maybe, I think I might have found it actually. Because well, after I'd seen mine, I kept it in my mind, and I went searching for a book. Thought, I wonder if I can find the book that keeps this orange object in it. And there it is. There's the orange orbs.
oh yeah,
Now, do you see those orange orbs on that book?
yeah. Mm,
Well, the one that I saw was very much just like one of those, not a shape, not a V shape or all those, but just one of those objects, and it
yeah,
was exactly like that.
yeah. I mean that's basically why I saw an orange ball.
And these apparently are seen all over the world. This goes back to like 50s, etc.
Yeah,
Up to modern date. When I was doing my show, actually, I had a Terry Ray on my show, on the Paranormal Dimension show, which was a very interesting show. Um, well, to me it was anyway.
yeah.
But
I think
it
what's
is quite a
interesting.
common thing.
Yeah, I think orange. It used to be more common than now. I think predominantly what
Mm,
people tend to see now are white balls of light, and we had a photo of a guy who was testing out a digital camera early one morning over the Leon Sea, and he didn't realise, he sent me the photo, what he didn't realise was these dots that were in the background, what he pointed out as to the UFO was a dark shadow UFO, but there's also stuff in the background that I had some good computer software, and when I enlarged them, one in particular showed a saucer shaped craft with whereas you get with jets, you get that orangey red
Mm.
for fighter jets. This had, if you swap that orangey red for white energy source, that seemed to be what was underneath the middle of this silver UFO, this craft. And what's interesting, only the other day I was looking at some of these drones that have been seen, and someone's photographed a drone with a white energy heat source coming out the back of it. Now that I found very interesting. I've not seen any craft of any form, shape, military, civilian, that's got a white energy heat source coming off the back of it, except in that UFO photograph. So if they're drones, and again, this could be someone that's faked a photograph, but let's take it that it isn't. Someone has got the same kind of technology as what the silver UFO craft had underneath its center of its body. Um, so whatever the white energy source is of propulsion, maybe one of the countries has cracked it. Who knows? Maybe China's cracked it. And
Mm.
knows how to produce a propulsion system of something that's maybe still in the realms of sci-fi, and they've got it and they've cracked it.
Yeah. So is that your take? Or do you think any of those those drone things that are being seen? Do you think any of those are real? Your real UFOs are what we call alien craft.
The thing is with the drones is if you take away the drone aspect, the program that's on, as I mentioned before, YouTube, UFOs and nukes, will have been seen all over the world, military bases all over the world. KGB had reports of UFOs interfering over military bases and affecting their weapon systems. And that's supposed to have also happened at Rendlesham.
Hmm.
Now, there's a track record of UFOs being seen, witnessed by lots of witnesses over military bases. The fact is now all these drones over military bases. If, as some would believe, it's China or Russia or Iran or whatever country, and you wanted to do a covert operation, you wouldn't put lights on the bloody things, would you?
No, it's exactly right. Yeah.
That'd be, you wouldn't want to draw attention to your craft in case.
Well, they make stealth aircraft so you can't see them, don't they?
Exactly, exactly. So if you put lights on them, there's more likelihood that you're going to be able to capture one of them or shoot one of them down, and then
Mm.
see, where the components are from and identify what country.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there's too many questions with the drones, and that's the problem.
Mm.
There's too many unanswered,
Yeah. To make them
and
so
no one knows
visible
the answer.
so that everybody can see them. It's
It seems odd.
yeah.
You're not going to do a secret military operation and then kind of tell everyone, look, we're here, we've got lights.
Yeah. That's right.
That doesn't make sense. But
No.
then it also doesn't make sense why the explanation that has come out is that they're looking for some kind of radioactive material that seems to have been lost,
Yeah.
which is
Just makes
worrying in itself.
it makes me wonder if they're playing at some other game that they haven't actually played their full hand yet. So
Well, Trump has evidently been briefed. I was watching this American news report the other night, and it said Trump has been briefed, but he can't say anything at the moment. So if they did say they are craft drones, UAPs of unknown origin, that would create one hell of a panic. That would create one awful, huge shitstorm.
would
And
it? I don't know. I mean,
I think it would, because then you're saying to the general public who you've got to determine whether they're ready for this full disclosure.
hmm,
Um, these craft are from could be potentially extraterrestrial or interdimensional origin, and um, that then puts a lot of questions into the religions and their
oh
beliefs.
yeah, from that aspect, yeah, there'd be a
And
lot of upheaval.
yeah,
But
and I think let me give an example. There was five of us at Renfrew Price at the place called the Bench, the hill that overlooked east, going towards the lighthouse.
yeah,
And we done a few experiments up there. We did a Stephen Greer experiment where we did a meditation and and tried to contact something. Okay. Um, we stood in a circle, we did a meditation, and as we finished the meditation, we turned round. But at that point, we all turned round and faced towards eastwards, towards the sea. These lights um, came out of nowhere, as almost as if to say hello.
Really? Wow, that's
Now,
interesting.
bear in mind that we were there to see these objects, but when they turned up, it was quite. We all kind of looked at each other with the what the.
Mm.
Now, we didn't. I don't think any of us spoke whilst we were, you know, I don't remember any of us actually talking whilst we were viewing these objects. And they were there for, I don't know, 30 to 60 seconds. Now, bearing in mind, we've got guys with us who, Paul has been a regular and an investigator many years. He knows what military flares look like. I know what boat flares look like. We know what astronomical events are. And um, these just came out of the blackness. And it was almost to stay home. And then literally just zoom and disappear again. We checked out the location where they were above, what seemed to be above, and it, oddly enough, it was an old cemetery where they used to bury the monks. So one person's UFO, another person's ghost. But we saw these objects. Now there was one guy with us. It was his first time, and it scared the living daylights out of him. It was so far outside the box. He never came to another meeting again.
Really?
Never,
Blimey, that would make me want to go to more. What are
yeah,
you?
but you see, this is the problem. If they give disclosure, there's some people who will not emotionally, mentally be able to handle the fact that there is something
Mm.
so far out of the box, they're not going to be able to handle it. And I think that's why they haven't given full disclosure yet to suddenly say there is something else um, that they've been brought up to believe is a load of rubbish.
Mm.
Um, I don't think some people will be able to handle it.
No. I'm sure they've been drip feeding us over the years anyway, to let us know
Yes,
gradually that
undoubtedly. Yeah, undoubtedly they have. And the interesting thing about those objects is we seem to have a different recollection of how many objects there were. I thought there was a certain number, and someone else thought there was another number. So did we see the same thing? Possibly not.
was it vastly different though? I mean, if you saw 100, they saw 20, sort of thing. Was it? Well,
Well,
it
we
wasn't.
did. What's interesting, we did the same thing, the same meditation at the same place, and then we heard that Larry Warren was in the forest somewhere.
No.
So he was,
When was this? It wasn't recently, was it?
no, no, years ago. And
The
what we
famous
did,
Larry Warren. Yeah.
we decided to go and try and find Larry and his party of people that were in another part of the forest. So off we wandered. Now, we couldn't find it. We went from track 10 in Anderson Forest to track 12, pitch black. And then decided to go back to the bench on the bottom of track 10. As we did so, we bumped into John Hanson. And John Hanson said, oh, you have to have a look at this footage. Now, he's got that footage. I think he's got it up on YouTube. Now, what was interesting was that when we did the meditation and when we decided to leave the bench, there was, I can only describe it as localized flashing just above our heads. Like you get with lightning, but it just
Mm.
seemed to be the only area was just above us, which we thought was a bit odd, but we didn't pay much attention to it. So what's happened as we've wandered from the bench across track 10 over to track 12, John had come wandering down track 10 and gone straight into the bench just after we'd done the meditation and filmed these lights, which can still be viewed on YouTube. And it's very interesting footage. And I've heard someone say, "Oh, it's in the shape of potentially a helicopter." But I can assure you, and you know this yourself, if there's a helicopter that low,
Mm.
when you're in the middle of the forest where it's deathly quiet, you would hear that helicopter.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I've had a circle out in round over here, and I reckon the whole of Canby could hear them.
Yeah,
Where are
exactly.
they?
And someone said, "Oh, it's a Chinook." I can assure you that a Chinook you can hear from
Yeah,
outside. So whatever that object was, and it's like an inverted kind of L shape of light, that appeared again after we did a meditation at the bench. So it's good when you get some film footage, photographs that back up what you've seen.
mm,
People can't say it's your imagination.
yeah.
But I do believe there's a certain amount of people, probably a large amount of people, that would not be able to handle being told, look, we're coming clean. This is what we've retrieved over the years, and these are, whatever.
I reckon there'd be a lot of people who still wouldn't believe it either. They'd probably
They
say,
would
"Oh, what a load of old ball." Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
you
there's
know.
also say it's conspiracy and it's all to do with this reason or that reason, or whatever. But the fact is, I know, and there's a lot of people that have seen objects that you find whizzing around the sky and under the sea as well. That's not a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
forget.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you know Paul Sinclair, but he's written several books they're called Truth Proof. And he does a lot of investigations along the Bempton Sea Coast, where Bempton is,
yeah,
North
yeah.
Yorkshire. And there's a lot of aircraft, or let's say aircraft, UFOs that are seen going in and out to sea. He sees them quite often,
But I
you
think
know.
there was an awful lot. I don't know if there still is. There's a lot of reports of the Canadian Great Lakes of
Yes, that's right,
being
yeah.
seen there.
Alaska as well, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was in a place called Manitoulin Island many years ago, and my sister said, "Oh, if you asked Wayne and Edie about the UFO sign, they might even know that one." And they said, "Oh yeah, well, ask them about it." Now, Wayne's no longer with us; he passed away a few years ago. But they were big salmon fishermen. I think Lake Huron, I think it was, and I had to, wheedle out some of the information because they did not want to discuss it or talk about it, and they were not comfortable
Mm,
about the whole thing. And it's only because my sister kind of pushed me into press ganging them to get the UFO information out of them. And basically, what happened, and being Manitoulin Island, a native Indian-owned island, but there were a few lodges and places you could stay there, and a relative had a place there, so hence why I was up there and doing a bit of salmon fishing. And they'd gone out at night and come back to a ramp where you could pull. They had predominantly open boats there, which you could put on the trailer and take home with you. And they'd come back, I think, about 12 o'clock at night, and it's pitch black. There's no street lamps or anything. It is literally pitch black, and there's still you can still hear bears there. It's still very wild. And basically, them and another boat were coming back at the same time. So what they did, they both had these million watt candle light power torches. So they were both helping each other with shining torches so they could hitch up the boats and pull them out of the water onto the trucks and take them off. And then the guys kind of having a chat and they put their boats hitched up and they were shining because they both had these new torches, so they were shining them across the lake. And bear in mind, the other side of the lake is so far away you can't even see
mm,
land.
mm.
It's a
It's like a
huge,
sea, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah. And as they're shining these torches, and again, this is what Stephen Greer has proposed: shining super bright torches in the sky to attract UFOs. An object from the other side of the lake whizzing across, stopped. I don't know how far offshore, but stopped offshore big enough to make them turn the torches off. And they described it as a white diamond-shaped object that just hovered. Now, the interesting thing is, it scared the living daylights out of them. They couldn't move; they were so scared, and they were just hypnotised by this light. Now, one of the things that has been described to me in investigating UFOs, again over Gloucester Park in Basildon, a fisherman said exactly the same thing. That whilst they were viewing this object, at night you get insects, you get foxes, you get all kinds of creatures that come out nocturnal and they make a noise. But whilst they're viewing these objects, it was deathly silent. There was no noise whatsoever. And that's what they described. And they said the weird thing is, bearing in mind, we're still in Ireland, we've got a lot of wild creatures there. They simply couldn't hear a sound. And then this object almost waited for them to look at the next step. They were just scared stiff, and it shot off back to where it came from. Um, and that was a report. So I reported it to Michel Deschamps, who was the MUFON investigator at the time. And he told me that he was investigating some abduction reports from that area. And he also sent me some photos um, of a small area that's in the forest that's been cleared, and there was like a gravel, and this gravel, there was two circles, and the gravel in these two circles was as smooth as newly laid cement, and there must have been he'd worked out, or for someone to work out that the glass in the sand had melted, and only a heat source of a certain degree heat could have melted. I think it was a silicon or glass in the material, and also because it was compressed down to I think 2 inches, inch and a half, 2 inches, but only something of a certain tonnage
Mm.
pressing down could have
Yeah.
melted it. Now, bear in mind, this area is surrounded by trees. You can't get a vehicle there or anything like that. But that kind of made it the UFO report quite
Mm.
interesting. The fact that he was investigating
Yeah. I mean, I don't know exactly what the temperature is, but you do need like a white hot heat to melt
yeah,
glass, don't you?
yeah,
You know.
yeah. So something landed there and compressed the
Mm.
gravel and heated it. But it's literally in the middle of nowhere on this island. It's not easy to get to. There's no roads to it. But yeah, that made it quite an interesting story out there. And it kind of
Mm.
came across it by complete accident. But the Canadian lakes, again, the water connection, same as Hanningfield, the same as the Thames, seem to be. Maybe they need water for, you know, for whatever use.
Or it's a good hiding place, also. You know.
Well, it is in some of those Canadian lakes. And I was in one, and I think the River Thames in certain areas is only about 80 foot deep, and I was in a lake that was about 200 foot deep. So they are ideal. I mean, there used to be a website called Orb Watch, and they were filming and seeing stuff all the time.
Mm.
I can't remember which one of the Great Lakes, but they were filming it all the time. So yeah, there's certainly stuff going on all over the place.
Mm. I always wonder, it seems to be certain people see UFOs as well. It's not always people that go out looking for them either, is it? I know when I've been up at Rendlesham, we saw, I'm not sure, I think it was Brenda Butler was with me at the time, and that's when Chris was alive as well. We saw a star start to move and stop and move and stop. And all of a sudden, another one started doing the same. This was actually we were around about the Eastgate area when this was going on, and we were watching these things for a good sort of 20 minutes or so. Stars don't, as we know, stars don't move and stop. Now that brings me to when I was a kid. Actually, that happened to me when I was living in London. I was actually sitting on my steps. I must have only been about 8 or 9, and all of a sudden I was actually this is like sitting outside and watching just as the stars are starting to come out, and I started seeing a star, which I thought was a star, just move and stop and move and stop. So they've been going on for a hell of a lot of years. But what I'm trying to get at is it does seem to be certain people see these things, and it affects their life. You know, it's affected my life. I've always wondered what the hell they were. Obviously, at the time, I thought that was a star. But do you think it's certain people? I mean, do you feel like you say about your paranormal connections to it? Do you think there's a connection to that?
Um, I think
It's not an easy question, I know, but I
because
mean,
it
I'm thinking about people like Philip. I know we're good friends with the Kinsellas, Philip Kinsella, um, and it affected their life drastically um, because they saw something when they were very young.
I think most people that are into one of the more, what could be termed more extreme subjects, ufology or into paranormal mediumship, have more of a wider viewpoint of life as regards to, you know, they don't dismiss.
Yeah.
just
I mean, I
because
wonder if it's
uh,
because they're more open
been
to that
told it
sort of
doesn't
stuff.
exist. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, society tells you, oh no, that's a load of rubbish. Now, when I
Mm.
was a kid, you saw a UFO, you were a nutter. That's how it's referred, you were a nutter. If you, all there was then to back it up was a photograph, black and white photo. There wasn't Photoshop or anything like that. There was black and white colour photo. But that wasn't deemed enough. You know, people that said such things in the papers, they were literally black and white called nutters.
Mm.
Now, all of a sudden, there's so much evidence that's come from military guys, astronauts, politicians, everyone, every cuts across all socio-economic groups, all different types of people. Everyone has
Yeah.
from everywhere has seen UFOs.
Yeah. Yeah. It was always said that also a little while back, not so long ago, that it only happens in America. But that's not true at all. They're seen all over the world, every part of the world. You
Yeah, I mean,
know.
if you look locally, where there's been, there was a lady that sent me a letter once, and she'd done it, did a little pencil drawing of what she'd seen, and she said, I saw this in the '60s, and it was a saucer shape, and it had a like an add-on to it, and she said I couldn't tell my husband because he would have ridiculed me,
Mm.
and she said I kept this a secret for
Yeah, I've
so
heard that sort of thing as well on
about
several of the shows I did. Yeah.
yeah, I've kept this a secret for about 30 odd years, and I'm just grateful to. And she sent it anonymously, and she said, "This is what I saw. I'm going to work as a cleaner. I'm going to work about 5:30 in the morning, and it was getting light." And she said, "And this is what I saw in the sky. It was so big, it was so clear." And that she drew it. And she just said, "I'm so glad to have got this off my chest that I could actually report this. Because I've not told anyone for like 25, 30 years." And And I just thought that was really sad that she knows that what she saw.
Mm.
She had it fresh in her mind, and that's the thing. If you've seen a genuine UFO, um, it, the image doesn't go away from it; it stays
Mm.
with you. And she had that in her head for 25, 30 years, and then she was so glad to be able to offload that. So this is what I saw. I haven't been able to tell
That's
anyone.
it. Yeah.
And it was quite sad that she couldn't just report it to anyone at the time because they would class her as being
Yeah. Yeah.
bad.
I mean, you probably felt the same. I know when I saw my one back in '66 or '67, I'm not quite sure when, the big oval object, something hits you, you think, wow, they do actually exist. It's, I mean, up until then, I hadn't really thought too much about UFOs or anything really, until I actually saw that one. I wasn't actually looking for any, I just happened to see it. But you do have that thing, well, wow, they really do exist. And you don't become like a believer there, you become a knower, don't you? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. There was, it sometimes it takes complete coincidences. I was driving along Cranes Farm Road in Basildon, and I saw it was the silhouette of like a drum shape with a red light either side, and it was winter. It was getting dark. It was probably about 4, half 4, and slightly earlier, and it was as clear as day. Now, as you probably know, the Cranston Road has got a few roundabouts. So I thought, well, I can't drive along the road looking up like that.
yeah.
It's dangerous.
We go over the roundabout, yeah.
I thought I'll turn at the next roundabout, stop, and try and get a photograph of it. So I kept my eyes on it all the way down most of the carriageway, obviously keeping an eye on the road as well. And when I got to the opportunity to turn right, I did stop the car, it got. So I thought, well, that's a really shaped object. Now, GEC involved in a lot of military and avionics, electronics. Um,
Yeah, I used to work there.
yeah, they had a location, an office there that I don't know what they made there, what they produced or anything, but I had made up in my head that it was something to do with them. Maybe
Mm.
an early drone, a silhouette of a dark drum shape and a red light on either side. Anyway, I pretty much made my mind that was the logical explanation. The GC were testing something, trying out a new bit of kit for spying or whatever. Quite a few years later, probably about 10, I was with David Hobbs, and we were doing a talk at Langdon Spiritualist Church, which was odd in itself, because when we were talking about one particular experience, every single fluorescent tube light in the church, and there must have been a 14, 16, started flashing like something out of Poltergeist.
Well,
Was totally weird. Anyway, I was telling this guy about, obviously people in London want to hear about the local Basil and sighting, and I was telling the people that come along to listen about this GC new prototype that I think they were testing as a potential explanation for that object. And he said, I saw that. Oh, this guy said, yeah. And he went, yeah. And I went, really? And he went, yeah. He said, now I was driving up this way, Crane's Farm. He was driving from Basel Town Centre this way. Now, I didn't see it go. As far as I've to me, it would be, even now, I saw it, I think it would be some kind of drone technology that's got up in the air. So it's got up in the air, it's come down. And he said, I was watching that as I was coming from the town centre, over the town centre. And he said, and that thing shot off at such a speed, you wouldn't believe. And I'm thinking, well, that's just ruled out drone technology, because he was liking it faster, 10 times faster than a jet. So there's my possible logical explanation as a natural skeptic gone out the window. So that just shows sometimes you find.
But it also proves you weren't seeing things because somebody else saw it.
I think the weirdest thing about that night was of all places in the spiritualist church, and I said to Dave, what on earth? Why those lights all went off at one particular time? And I said to the guy that ran the church, has that ever happened before? Every fluorescent tube which is going mad. And he went, no. So yeah, that was quite weird. It was in the spiritualist church.
Very strange.
But yeah, there's been. We're quite fortunate in that we've got these reports and going back years, and some photographs, and there's a couple of photographs we've got from Rendlesham of what look like red eyes and white eyes, and we've got some video footage of the white ball of light, which some people have described as potential possible plasma intelligence.
Or you could do a whole show on Rendlesham. I guess when Rendlesham's been mentioned a few times, I suppose we ought to mention it's in closing, because we're sort of running towards the end of this now. It's the 44th anniversary coming up very shortly of the UFOs that were seen, or supposed UFOs that were seen in the woods. So your belief on that, Mark, do you think they actually saw something?
Yes.
And do you think it was extraterrestrial? Maybe we'll do another show completely on Rendlesham one day.
Yeah, I think that would be worth doing. Yeah, I mean, I would go by the two radar operators, and all of the skeptics, their explanation, which take it on board. They've got what could be considered good potential logical explanations. But the footage that was on YouTube that seemed to have now been taken down, the two radar operators hadn't said anything for years. Now they're retired, they can and they have, and they said this object, not only did they track it on radar, it hovered just outside the tower, and it was an orange ball of light that then shot off towards them. Now, people not.
My dog's just bloody coming.
Yeah, if you can find that video, so whatever it was, if you add in that what they saw as the starting point, forget what happened afterwards, plus the other eyewitnesses reports that were local, plus you add in the pub, I think it was called the Swan, where the guy had some footage. It made the East Anglian Times. He was having a cigarette. He come from Basildon, the guy. He used to be the landlord or worked there. And he was having a cigarette quite late at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, and he saw this object come down and hover over a field. I think pretty sure he got photograph or footage of it. Now, he claimed, because I had a good chat with him, he had the stills of the UFO in the pub, hanging on the wall. And he claimed that someone called and John disputes this. Someone claiming to be John Hanson came along and took the footage away for analysis and never seen it since.
Yeah,
So
I doubt if it was John.
that is just down the road from Rendlesham Forest. So if you
Mm,
add up all the things around the Rendlesham case, there's a good amount of evidence.
mm,
Forgetting what happened in the forest itself, just look at the stories around Rendlesham Forest, and there's more than enough evidence.
mm. I mean, I doubt if it was John Henson.
No, he
Well,
disputes it. I've asked John,
yeah,
and he said it wasn't him that took the footage.
yeah,
So
because he never told me about it. And
someone purporting to be him
mm.
gone to the
Oh, maybe he used his name. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, 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 that's what I'm saying. Someone falsely claiming that they're John.
Or unless it just happened to be another John Henson. I suppose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah, possibly. But someone took his footage and he never ever got it back.
Strange stuff. But yeah, I think we ought to do a whole show about
Mm.
Rendlesham because there's probably people out there that are probably sick to death of hearing about it. But there's other people that may not know too much about it. And we could go quite in depth with it, couldn't we? Because I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
several people that were involved. And I think you do as well, and people that weren't involved as well.
yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but anyway, it's the 44th anniversary which is coming up, which happened on Christmas 1980. If you actually want to read about it, I've got several books on it myself. Um, I think the best one, I've got to say, the best one on it is the Rendlesham Enigma by Jim Penniston. I think that's really the best book on it.
Yeah, I haven't read that.
Oh, it's brilliant.
The trouble with the Rendlesham story is each eyewitness is counterclaimed by the other eye.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
Penniston covers.
I think that's the good thing about the Rendlesham Enigma, because what Jim's done actually, he's laid it out minute by minute and event by event, and it's actually laid out. It's nearly, I think it's about 800 pages, the book, and it covers every aspect of it. And it was written by Gary Osborne actually with Jim Penniston, and I believe there's a second volume coming very shortly.
Oh,
I know it's been quite a long while in the making because this was actually book one, but there's a book two coming shortly, which goes into more to the binary code as such that came down, which apparently Jim Penniston couldn't have invented because of the way over the years the Earth has rotated. He could never have written that even if he knew binary code, he could never have written what that binary code meant. You know,
right. Right.
the noughts and zeros. So that's all quite interesting to see how that develops. But I
I
think
mean,
really, I think we'll have to leave it there, Mark, because we've gone well over an hour now, and
okay.
I've got to go have my dinner as well. But
And yeah,
we'll definitely do a Rendlesham show. You know, perhaps in the spring or something. I think it's worthwhile because we can actually talk about what's happened this year, can't we? And maybe about this supposed documentary that still hasn't appeared yet, which I'm not even going to mention.
or maybe film it up at Rendlesham.
Yeah, that could be a
We could
good
go
one.
up
Yeah,
there too, aren't
do a
we?
live on. Yeah, we could do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
We can certainly put some. I want to go up there again for a visit anyway. It's probably about a year since I've been up there. But it's nothing like it used to be, I know. But maybe some people from the group might like to join us, have a little group outing up there.
Yeah,
I think we've spoken about that before.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
anyone watching this video, if you're part of the Essex group, let us know if you fancy a little trip up there and perhaps we can arrange something.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
but from there on, I think Mark and I will wish you a happy Christmas. This is going out for just before Christmas.
Yeah,
So
Merry Christmas to everyone.
yeah, and we'll be seeing you at the club in was it January the 3rd? I think it's the next one, isn't it? For Terry Johnson.
Yeah, it's January 3rd,
He's
isn't
doing something on ley
it?
lines,
Yeah,
I believe. It's on
yeah,
January the 3rd.
right.
So we'll leave it there, Mark. Thanks for
Okay,
coming on,
good
and
to speak to you, David.
see you soon. I hope you have a good Christmas. And I know you've not been too well lately, have you, over the last few months? But I hope you're getting on okay.
Yeah, everything's fine now, thank
Good,
goodness.
that's good.
Um,
Perhaps we'll see more of you at the club.
yeah, 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 yeah.
All right.
Yes, speak to you soon, David.
Yeah, all right. Thanks very much for watching, everybody, and see you soon. All right. Cheers, Mark. Thanks for coming
Cheers,
on. Cheers,
bye.
mate. Bye bye. Bye bye.